CHIRP year 3. This year, Bluejays and Poets, which is us, in case you didn't know, just wandered in here, we are fostering community-based education that centers poetry and poetic traditions, and our team has worked incredibly hard to provide spaces of love, relief, care, challenge, and resistance for all who needed it. In times of repression, we have reinvested in the communities who have raised us and strengthened the cross-cultural bonds that give us life and give our art meaning. We are so thankful for those in the Hopkins and Baltimore community who have supported us, and we are so excited to celebrate the love and care we share for this community with all of you tonight. Ruby's gonna go over some of our highlights from this year.
Okay, so we'll just do a little trip down memory lane, thinking about all the amazing things we've done this year. We had a Love Day event, which was honoring and practicing the traditions of Black and queer expressions of community love, focuses on solidarity and showing up for ourselves and one another. So much fun. We produced a scene that researched Dominican heritage and culture through poetry and opened doors for questions of creativity and diaspora. Held a beautiful multimedia event celebrating the poetry of South Asian music, and practiced together pulling the threads of poetry and artistic communications in our own cultures and heritages to reveal diasporic and intimately close global connections across communities. We collaborated with the Arab Student Union on a fundraiser for Lebanon and Palestine, featuring live music, portraits, food, and an open mic. And we had a field trip here that we also collaborated with them on at Bird in Hand. That was a talk featuring Naomi Shiobnai and Mrigaanka, which is we were also so honored to guest perform at the Africa Business Conference, the Black Student Union and Society of Black Alumni Weekend Programming, and the Black Women's Collective and Theater Brunch, and the Delta Leadership Brunch. And finally, speaking of performances, we had a very historic culture show performance, which was co-directed by me and Cadence Giroux, who couldn't be here. Featuring performers Emesa, James Baldwin, and Zari, who got in here. Did such an amazing job. And the performers celebrated and called upon a long history of Black and Palestinian solidarity and kinship, while simultaneously exploring themes of collectivity, resistance, futurity, haunting, and transness within both heritages. So that was all the stuff we got into this year, and it was so much fun. I'm very proud of all the events that we put on in the space that we're able to create. And we're going to start with
Okay, so kind of the way this is gonna go is we have a few of our featured performers. I will be giving you guys a little introduction to each of them, and we will be hearing them perform or read something, whether it's their own or they're reading the work of another writer. In between our featured performances, we have a special message from Nisaba, a collaborating organization. I'll be reading the message on behalf of some of the officers who couldn't be here. And after our featured performers are done, we will open up open mic section. Anyone can speak. It doesn't have to be poetry. If it is, that's awesome. And we'll be passing around a list where you can sign up for that down the line. So just keep an eye out for that, but we'll kind of give you guys a little heads up when that's moving around. So let's get started. Our first featured performer is actually Ruby, who conveniently happens to be sitting right next to me. Ruby is a senior majoring in writing science and Africana studies at Hopkins. She is interested in Black poetic traditions and the intricately and infinitely beautiful poetics and politics of solidarity. She loves dancing, writing about vivid and prophetic dreams, reading James Baldwin, spending time with other artists in the sun, and extra sweet tea. I can confirm that all of those things are 100% factually and commercially true.
So the first one is called Pecan Apricot Alive. I learn what I need from where she places the weight in the word pecan. When she is framed by my bedroom door, talking with her hands, dancing to accent a phrase, a lilt like my old lullabies. How she gospel choir belts the A in her liberation as if we have just now finally made it. The OU in her root unravels like ribbon and wraps around my forearms just below the cuff sleeves of another man's button-down. the sharp knife dotting the I in shit, when she shatters glass in the kitchen, also cuts the A's from her asparagus and her Monday. I catch the C in her syrup. The I in her alive lives in the back of her throat, and her apricot tennis strokes back and forth in her mouth. She never turns her nose up at the decaying cord grass smell by my home, marsh air lurking like a worthwhile secret between our sun-ripe faces. I drop and forget forever the T's in Kent County. They bury themselves and grow once more, stronger and salted, wilting in butter. She snake tongues and argues sexuality is everything except sex. I front load the rhyme between ethereal and either when I tell her how she looks and that I don't mind where we go for dinner. So that's my first one. I'll also read one called New Orleans Queen, which I really love. And it's after a song by Leon Bridges, who's really good. Doris brought the genre to its knees every single Saturday night. Python boots peeking out from beneath a pair of 726s, heels thumping furious, skin sticky sweet from Louisiana heat. 1978 Fender jazz bass with red and orange flames hanging low towards her hips, thumbs slapping and smacking those 4 strings, an afro pick in her back pocket. Daughter of the Mississippi Delta and fresh 27, she has traversed the surface of the earth to end up here, where New Orleans fizzles out into fishing towns, in the blues bar with the caving roof. The boys have their black label bottles by the neck, and fake gold leaves green rings around girls' collarbones. Every note of higher ground hangs heavy in the air beside smoke and sweet talk coming from corners of the room. Makeshift stage lights catch the sweat around her edges from 10 to 3 a.m. every weekend, and by 4:30, she nudges her stuck front door open and slides her guitar case beneath the bed. She tries to be quiet, but Benny sleeps light on Saturdays so he can ask his mother to sing stories of the night while they're fresh. In the morning, she says, and bounces him on her knee, singing Grandma's Hands until he falls back to sleep. And for my last one, I'm going to read Enemy of the Sun, which is a poem by Simi Al-Qasim, and it's a beautiful poem. And the Black revolutionary activist George Jackson actually had a handwritten copy of this poem in his jail cell when he was executed. So it was reminds me. I may, if you wish, lose my livelihood. I may sell my shirt and bed. I may work as a stone cutter, a street sweeper, a porter. I may clean your stores or rummage your garbage for food. I may lie down hungry, oh enemy of the sun, but I shall not compromise, and to the last pulse in my veins I shall resist. You may take the last strip of my land, feed my youth to prison cells. You may plunder my heritage, you may burn my books, my poems, or feed my flesh to the dogs. You may spread a web of terror on the roofs of my village, oh enemy of the sun, but I shall not compromise, and to the last pulse in my veins I shall resist. You may put out the light in my eyes, you may deprive me of my mother's kisses, you may curse my father, my people, you may distort my history, you may deprive my children of a smile and of life's necessities. You may fool my friends with a borrowed face, you may build walls of hatred around me, you may glue my eyes to humiliations, oh enemy of the sun, but I shall not compromise, and to the last pulse in my veins I shall resist. Oh enemy of the sun, the decorations are raised at the port, the ejaculations fill the air, aglow in the hearts, and in the horizon a sail is seen, challenging the wind and the depths. It is Ulysses returning home from a sea of loss. It is the return of the sun, of my exiled ones, and for her sake and his, I swear I shall not compromise, and to the last pulse in my veins, I shall resist, resist, and resist. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby. What an amazing start to our featured performers. That was awesome. Let's clap again for Ruby. Next we have Zari Newman. Zari is a senior, graduating very soon with a BA in Public Health and also an incoming first year at the Bloomberg School of Public Health. Woo! Her queer and Jamaican American identities fuel her creative work. From short stories to prose poetry and creative memoir, there's nothing she doesn't love to write. A proud Bronx native, Zari has been happy to call Baltimore and Bluejays and poets her homes away from home these past few years. This is her last CHIRP as an undergrad, but not the last peep you'll hear out of her. Please welcome Zari.
Hi everyone. So this year's CHIRP theme is Roots and Renewal, and it made me think of home. A place, a feeling, a four-letter word. Home can be consistency, and it can be a chance to start again. When I was 8, I took a trip to my ancestral homeland, Jamaica, to visit my dad who'd been deported earlier that year. I stayed in his childhood home with his mother, my grandmother, Sajais, and caught myself wanting familiarity in a dynamic that could never be the same. In a home both mine and not, and with an opportunity to start again. Here's a snippet of that experience. A week before I was set to leave Jamaica, Sajais decided to slaughter her coop of chickens. It was another hot day, and she was in the yard behind the main house with me and my brothers. A huge black pot of water was boiling above a makeshift stove, and a clothesline had been pinned up near the outdoor kitchen that was really just a hastily built wooden shed. It was like a ritual, the way my grandmother hoisted the first chicken from its coop next to the shed and expertly tied its feet to the clothesline, her lips pressed tightly together in concentration. Then, in one swift movement, Joyce unsheathed a small knife from the pocket of her skirt and began sawing away at the neck of the chicken. I remember its blood, a crimson red, staining the brown dirt of the yard. Sajai's massive leather hands worked at the skinny tendons of the chicken's neck until the chicken was finally decapitated. She threw its head in the dirt, where one of the yard dogs immediately started licking it up. I swallowed the bile, fighting its way up my throat, and bolted into the house. Sajais called after me, but I pretended not to hear. I ran to her room, slipped through her door, and crawled under her bed, where I hid, crying for the chicken and for myself. Not 10 minutes went by before the door to Sajais' room opened. I could tell it was her. She called to me again, and this time I obeyed and skittered from my hiding spot. So Joyce shook her head and smirked at me before gesturing for me to sit next to her. You know what this is? I studied the book in her hand for a moment before responding. A photo album? So Joyce nodded and flipped the album open. There were pictures of her as a young girl, standing tall and intimidating next to a group of boys. Some of her as a baby, being held by doting parents. The old black and white quality of the photos intrigued me, and I touched the corners curiously. The pages kept turning and the memories flowed. Sajais as a little girl, then as a teenager pregnant with her first child. We have 8 children. All of them give trouble, but most especially your father, she told me. Him tell me about you the other day, and I'm guessing you heard me talking about him down at the shop. I hid my face, embarrassed at being caught eavesdropping, but also relieved that there was nothing unspoken between us. Unlike me and my dad, whose relationship had become characterized by its uncertainty and secrecy, Sajais and I can speak the truth. Without Dad, I feel like that chicken, dead but still blinking and breathing with my head cut off, with something missing. Oh dear, Sajais explained. It won't be all right. I got to know. We will sew your head back on for you. I laughed between tears, and she rubbed my back, letting me cry all down the front of her shirt. I shook with laughter and grief at the loss of the father that I thought I knew, the one who rode me to school on his bike, danced with my mom on Sunday mornings, and let me practice WWE moves on him. I mourned the man because he was not a hero. When I finally calmed down, she took me downstairs to the kitchen and unlocked the freezer full of bag juice and sweeties. I chose a frozen grape juice as my treat and broke the plastic bag greedily with my teeth until I was slurping on purple slush. Feel a little better? Sajais asked. Yeah, I said. Thank you, Sajais. You're welcome, she chuckled. Now hurry up and finish that so I can show you how to pluck the feathers from a chicken. It's something even foreign picnic you don't want to do. I must have had a horrified expression on my face because when I looked up at Sajais, she was laughing at me, head thrown back, mouth wide, and swallowing the spoon.
Thank you, Zari. I love when at open mics people read stuff that isn't poetry. It's like it changes it up in such a refreshing way, and to have it that early was awesome. So thank you very much for that. Next we have Emesa. Emesa is a senior from Lebanon with a major in writing seminars. Her current reading obsession is Anything by Aldrin Poem. Outside of writing, she loves baking, running, basketball, and ice cream. One of her far-fetched dreams is to one day open a bookstore bakery in Beirut and to publish a book. Her less far-fetched dream is a free Palestine. Let's welcome Emesa!
Hi everyone. Okay, I'm gonna read 4 poems. Some of them are shorter than others. I wrote most of these last year. A lot of them were angry poems from after the follow-up of October 7. The first one actually was earlier in the year, so it's called A Portrait of the Artist as Beirut, Lebanon. I am Mediterranean salt spray, jagged sea rocks, chewed pumpkin seeds in the crevices. I am shipwrecked mountains in the distance, frosty peaks past the smog. I am the coast and the corniche, the basking waves, the mild breeze. I am the stench of fresh caught fish gasping on the concrete. I am chewy ice cream and pistachios, stuffed grapevine leaves and olive trees. I am mint bursting from the sidewalk cracks and mulberry stains on marble. I am the craft vendors wheeling wood carts, cats wending through the Hamada streets, the plastic chair outside the Faisal store, and acrid clouds of smoke, shisha, and cigarettes. I am soft rolled raws and eyes stuck in the backs of throats. I am fishin, khaz, khudad, and khubz, and haz, harsher than harsh. I am broken rules and language liquefied. I am Martyrs Square and Alia's books, distorted mesh of buildings, unriddled walls and sweat, warm bread and jasmine buds, careening cars and thick hot air, the taste of gasoline. I am music blaring long past late, the tub is mighty, pounding feet, bodies close pressed up walls in the ceiling, and muffled nights when stars go bright, the sigh of lights gone out. I am 7 cities struck and stacked, flowers blossoming from wounds, a startling disarray, Beirut, glorious and gray. Okay, my second is a sonnet called On Nonviolence. We join the festive crowd in Martyrs Square. My blood beats with the drums. You grab my hand. So this is where we make our final stand. With flags aloft, the chants call to prepare for the assault with hands up in the air. The guns and knives and rocks have all been banned. With scarves and banners raised, we'll save our land. We wait for their approach, fully aware they'll fire from the ground, the sea, the sky. Our calls will give them pause, we're freedom bound. My keffiyeh slips off, you teach me how to wrap it tight. Cool fingers brush my brow, then you're blasted away. I hit the ground to screams and dust. We stood in peace to die. Okay, I've got 2 more poems. This one is called Occupied, and I'm reading it. I wasn't going to read it at first, but I felt like it follows up Enemy of the Sun pretty well. I hadn't actually read Enemy of the Sun before I wrote this, but I don't know. I guess the sentiment runs deep in all of us, so it's called Occupied. Grasp tight this fight, or we will cease to exist. They blot us off this earth and celebrate. Don't let them break you down. Resist, resist. They drag us from our land. They won't desist from taking our homes, locking the gate. Grasp tight this fight, or we will cease to exist. Stand at the prison walls and raise your fist. They shoot us down in droves, exterminate. Don't let them break you down. Resist, resist. Raise loud your voice, defy their lies. They'll twist our words, make us face beasts to subjugate. Grasp tight this fight, or you will cease to exist. They'll starve us, seal us off. We will subsist on bread stained red by those dealt a worst fate. Don't let them break you down. Resist, resist. The bombs that kill our children will persist, but will outlast this vile state, their hate. Grasp tight this fight, or we will cease to exist. Don't let them break you down. Resist, resist. Okay, this last poem, I'm struggling to choose between my last two. Okay, I'm gonna read, it's called The Last Request of Sanaa Haidle, Inta al-Asli, You Are the Source. So Sanaa Haidle was a freedom fighter who drove an explosive car into an Israeli checkpoint to free up her village in southern Lebanon, in a village called Jazin, in 1985. And so I was lucky enough to visit the spot where this happened, and someone told us her story. And so this poem, I wrote it I was inspired by her story. So yeah, Inta al-Asli, You Are the Source. Friend, don't cry for me. I am ready, for I waited 12 long days in this empty home, and time has not dissolved my will or mission. Fearing won't save us. I'll be getting into that car tomorrow morning, won't look back for another word, so listen now. Remember and let the others know when it's time. For when this is all over and done, they'll bless my name in every town and bestow it on their newborn daughters, this generation bearing witness to freedom. Taught the price of freedom, not fear, and yours shall be the first, my chosen and true. So promise not to lose yourself to this noble fight, else what was I lost for? This is my last request, that you love and marry, build a family, find in them joy, and when you name her after me, just remember, Inta al-Asli. It was an honor. Thank you.
Chills. That was incredible. There was a lyricism there, and the intensity just, words do not suffice. Very tough act to follow up, but luckily, next we have Yas. Yasmine is a writing seminars and Africana studies double major at Hopkins. They are head over heels in love with Queering the Bible, Megan Thee Stallion's lyricism, and My Planet. When they're not writing, they can be found plotting their next view of the Northern Lights, learning new dance styles with their friends, and researching African American and Southern poetic traditions as archival and historical practices. Without further ado, please welcome Yas!
Can we get one more round of applause for Emesa's poems? Something that I always love hearing about Emesa's performance is how full of love and passion she is whenever she's reading and whenever she's performing something that she's memorized. And as I think about our theme today, which is roots and renewal, and think about what it means to be rooted in something and to be renewed by something, I think about how every single person who's read already has read about someone that they love, or something that they love, or a place that they love. I want to kind of continue that theme. As I was getting ready today, I realized like everything I'm wearing right now comes from something I love or someone I love. This dress is something that Ruby helped like design and put together. The bra I'm wearing, like my mom taught me how to do that. And even like this video, which I didn't expect to be wearing, was like a gift from Emesa and Ruby. And so I want to continue that with the poems that I'm going to read. The first poem is written to someone that I love very much, and it's called Last Night You Were a Blushing Soft River, Wearing Away at the Dragons of the State, for Danny.
Last night, you were a blushing soft river wearing away at the jaggedness of the state, and I was like if a 70s blaxploitation film could sissy strut. I kissed you on your one queer face, and I grew to love who loved you. We stumbled out the club, heads tied off the hook, all our lips twinning in the same shade of strawberry letter 22. The girl I was and the girl you could be, holding each other's sweaty pinkies. I sang the words you couldn't, and gasped at the small, pale-bodied kitten with patches black and curved and snapped by white lightning into a broken heart. Wondered if the halves would be made whole by moving towards the birch bark tree-ring whirls of your waiting fingertips. Could hear your heart crackling at the fault lines while we broke the night hanging heavy in the garden behind the function. The whole birthmark on me danced with the whole birthmark on you while the ghost of the memory of the DJ kept playing. Are you superstitious? Is the writing on the wall? Are your churrings in my bones? Is love making a twirling history in us? I'd never considered a career in endocrinology until you were in my arms. You were two dancing halves, kissing and breaking apart and kissing again. You were so full of heartbreak that you had to sing, and so full of flash softness that your fissures flooded over and we had to lay you down. And then this next poem is a land-back poem from a Black Native perspective. It's called The Tree That the Axe Remembers. It is ridiculously long. I wrote it for JHU Sustainability, so I'm going to read only a section of it. But it begins, today I am thinking about how the earth is really just another black body. Today I'm thinking about how once a boy who said he loved me carved our initials into a magnolia tree just to prove it. He looked so proud, saying the initials aloud as he ran a pale thumb over the letters, the same way he touched my face so many times before. And sure, he had the best of intentions, and he was talking to me with so much sugar stirred into the sweet tea of his voice, but all I could pay attention to about the way that he loved me right then was his choice, an act of silent violence. His choice and the fact that my chest felt scarred over, that I had more in common with this tree than I would ever have with the person in front of me. See, my body is a being that remembers too much. Golden spiked, it remembers a time before my time. Holds hurt like healing isn't coming, houses heartbreak the way a scab cradles blood ready to burst. This land, of course, remembers. She watched plants transform into plantations, whole worlds dry and die, and she is haunted by history books who confuse domination for love, a manifestation of destiny. I wonder, what are the effects of living on land that affirms your hatred? We are not the only people with generational curses. I wonder if the hearses of my predominantly white county's ancestors leaked a legacy that seeped into the baby bottles. Where I come from, it seems that way. So many there are proud to say that they reside on the lands that once belonged to US President George Washington. But the land stubbornly remembers. They say the axe forgets, but the land reminds us that if the axe had truly forgotten, it would not return to the same tree knowing it provides good wood, begging for more until the stump of a thing once alive remains. The land holds me like a black mother, guiding me in a candid lullaby to liberation. She says, baby, I know it pains you to hear this, but the urge to be understood and visible and landscapes not shaped for you, and rooms not built to account for the echo of your 1,000 names will only carve into you in the end. Do not confuse domination for love. You thought that boy loved you because he saw you, but how else could he have hunted you? The land knows what it is to be hunted until the brink of extinction, to be the tree that the axe returns to, as the axe claims that it only chops trees that deserve it. Today, I'm thinking about how the earth remains. Today, I'm thinking about how it has ended and continued. How despite the cost of cash crops being carved into her face, the earth still finds a way to feed us. I am so hungry for our true pasts, and I am so hungry for a future full of black love. It will not look like any time in history we have held before, but it will be grown from the roots our brown soil bodies embrace endlessly. My body and the land, both black fields of dreaming and painstaking remembering, demand it. Thank you.
Because we're going to take a little break now before we move into our next section. I just want to say everyone who's spoken already, and a lot of the people who are going to speak now, have just been absolute inspirations. A lot of people are about to graduate from a lot of the readers you hear. And this campus and the queer community here, the artistic community here, and me personally, are so much better for having come into the same spaces as like everyone here today. And yeah, Roots and Renewal kind of comes from that same idea, but just something that our club has persistently tried to do is provide us a home and a community where we can like communicate who we are and how we feel through art, through language, whatever language that may be. And I hope that we're able to like showcase that today to those of you who haven't come into our space yet. And just again, I am grateful from the bottom of my heart to all of you for being here, but especially to everyone who you've heard and who you're going to hear, because I would be like half the writer, poet, person I am without them. So just please clap again for everyone who's speaking. Before we move on to the second half of our featured performers, I'm going to read something of a statement or a letter or just a piece, what have you, from my very, very dear friends, Raven, who is the co-president of DISAGA, and Nana, who's the vice president next, and Nana. They can't be here today, they're having a good time in California without me. This is called Our Queerness is Action, Reflections on the Queer History of Hopkins Campus. This past year, we, them not me, worked on a grant project with the Sheridan Libraries, doing research into the histories of Hopkins and Baltimore's queer community through art and archival material. In this work, we delved into the long history of queer students on this campus and with it, their history of resistance. The Diverse Sexuality and Gender Alliance, DISAGA, is Johns Hopkins University's first undergraduate queer student organization, founded in 1986. Over the last 40 years, queer students at JHU have carved out spaces for queer life here by sharing resources, spreading awareness, organizing queer outings and celebrations, bringing in artists, educators, and leaders of the queer community, collaborating with other campus organizations for events, advocacy, and protest, and creating welcoming spaces on campus. Since its beginning, DISAGA has been known for its history of intolerance with discrimination the LGBTQ+ community faces on and off campus by means of protesting, rallies, direct communication with the university, and more. The fight against unjust discrimination and censorship continues even today, as the organization has navigated challenges amid the current Trump administration. Federal crackdowns and fear-mongering targeted against DEI supporting and trans/queer accepting universities, organizations, and more has led to DISAGA having events cancelled by Hopkins and substantially reduced to decrease visibility while the university is under federal review. In our archival research and reflections of this organization and the strong, long-lasting legacy it has left students today, we believe it is more important than ever to remember our history and be empowered by it. If we do not put effort into ensuring our voices are heard and recognizing our intersectional challenges and strengths, change will never happen. And it is with this spirit that queer students on campus have continued amid this political climate. One notable event was in March of 2001, where Leslie Feinberg came to speak, a transgender lesbian revolutionary communist, author, activist, and revolutionary, and also the author of Stone Butch Blues, which Nana would want me to say is one of their favorite books. Leslie said, DISAGA currently is trying to bring back events like this. They left me a caps lock note, so I think it's important that I mention this. Her work underscores the importance of intersectionality in our understanding of queerness. In 2007, Z spoke about this at Aswad, a conference of Palestinian gay women in Haifa. And here's a quote. Today we see how the imperialists, the US to Israelis, use the experiences of women, of gays, of transgenders as pretexts for imperialist war. The white supremacist ideology replaces the colonial claim of bringing civilization into imperialist claims that are bringing democracy. Queerness cannot ignore other struggles for liberation and justice. It cannot be used as a pretext for ignorance, silence, or oppression. When looking at queerness not just as a description of who we are or who we love, but as an experience that places us outside of the cis-heteropatriarchal norm, being queer becomes the foundation for how we interact with the world around us. Our queerness is action. It broadens our horizons and challenges efforts to isolate peoples and individualize their struggles. It is a deliberate celebration and uplifting of deviance in a society that tries to suppress any departure from the norm. Our queerness calls us to learn our histories, to take inspiration from them, and to face our current moment. It pushes us to recognize patterns of marginalization, of oppression, and of hierarchy in the world today. It demands that we are ready and willing to speak out. Our queerness must be revolutionary. It must reject the violence done not just against queer people, but against all others on the margins and all those oppressed. As Leslie Feinberg said, sexuality, gender expression, and bodies cannot be liberated without making a ferocious mobilization against imperialist war and racism an integral part of our struggle. It stands against imperialism and genocide. It stands with refugees, with immigrants, with those incarcerated and homeless. It stands with Palestine, with Kashmir, with Sudan, with the Congo, with all those subject to colonial power fantasies. Our queerness says, fuck ICE, abolish prisons, and free Palestine. So that's from my Let's get back into it. Next we have a very, very special guest performer who we are so excited is here with us today, and is kind of emblematic of a collaboration that a lot of us e-board members and club members have personally outside of the club, but also the club as a whole, with writers in Baltimore schools. If you don't know them, they are an incredible organization that does such impactful and genuine and thorough and consistent work in the community for so long. So please, and also if you're a Hopkins student, there's a lot of opportunities to work with them, and a lot of us do. So if you're interested in that, I think we'd be open to talking to you afterwards, or you can look them up and you can find a lot of ways to collaborate with them. They always need more helping hands. So, on that note, I'm very happy to welcome Aldrin Badiola. He is the author of the forthcoming collections Patrilineal and Buried Love in Archived Websites, which sounds so exciting. His works are published in the Hopkins Review and elsewhere. He can be found at aldrinbadiola.card.co. Come on up.
It's funny, I didn't even know that the theme was fruits, but all the pieces I'm going to read today are about that. So this first piece is the middle piece of my forthcoming collection, Patrilineal. Creation Story of Boys. 1. Shedding my metallic cover, I jump into bed with him. At midnight, I roll out, still asleep, and he snores to the clank of my wiring on the floor. It's morning and he's still up cold. My gears turn in monotony, screaming a song of broken machinery. Grinding gears, I overheat. He wakes as my wiring tangles. He dusts my shoulders and pats my back. I open my chest and he dives in. 2. He threads each wire in my chest, a mechanical imperfection. He creates me for one purpose. Every gear heartbeats under my metal chest plate. He drags his flathead screwdriver from my palm, then I sputter oil in the wish. We're the only ones here. Old motor oil drips from my seams. After his afternoon tea, he reaches inside me. He grabs my wires. His fingers lock with my gears. He doesn't let go. With each digit, he chases the oil in my system. Look at his smile when he does it, how his lips curve into the sunset, my guts mirrored on his sharp teeth. See the way his tears pull in me. 3. Creator guts creation as both start crying. Creation. This isn't how the story is supposed to start. You're supposed to be the man here, get it together. Creator isn't ready to talk yet. Creation. You're supposed to be the engineer here. I'm just your creation. I'm not talking. You're imagining this as oil dribbles out the seams of my metal body. Creator puts pressure on his metallurgy to stop the leaking. Creation goes silent. 4. Someone will die for the science to continue, and we don't know which of us it will be, because the way my arm rubs against his grooves of half-rusted metal feels too intimate for either of us. Fake lily petals surround us in a circle, and his oil seeps onto my carpet. Sparks fly past my face and surface my thoughts. I'm not dying here, he isn't either. 5. In the light, the mirrored version of my face refracts into pieces against his skin. He will never be alone again. I watch as he pulls his hair and cries. I hide him at night in my closet, his haunting ground. I take his bones, then break them. Since we are only boys, there are 2 ways for this to end. The first, I lose myself in the absinthe, fatherhood created with my drunken breath. The second, we look up instead of back. The next piece is from my forthcoming microchat book, Buried Love in Archived Websites, and it's about the generation, being in the generations after the AIDS crisis, and how the process of archiving biographical websites from that period is important to our history. It's titled Resting Hearts, Mourning Dancers, and it starts with an epigraph from Brokeback Mountain. Tell you what, we could have had a good life together, fucking real good life, had us a place of our own, but you didn't want it in us. 1. I've laid your framed photo face down on our bedside table. We fought in the afternoon and now you're fishing with your father. Under my blanket, I grab at my heart and make it pulse. You walk into our bedroom. I'm touching my body to make sure I'm still alive. You pace to your side of the bed and you turn the lights off. I feel your weight on the mattress. 2. In front of your father's passed down convenience store, my arms capture your waist. You're playing the harmonica and I'm enamored. I hold your belly as the sun rises. My friends say you were only attractive in your youth, but the image coming to mind is your shadow consuming me. Our glory days are in the present. Your boots hit the ground and you start walking and I follow. We reach the middle of the forest. There are only 3 paths out. We can stay for the morning. And the final one is from a full-length collection that I'm currently writing, based loosely on the story of Judas and Jesus and about betrayal and what it means to be loved when you don't feel like you are. It's titled For Boys Named Judas Iscariot. Every man's first betrayal is his father, how the man drifts into memory, how the man cuts open his palms, places them against the walls of his house, then says, "Let me paint this maroon." It drips from inside of his hands. The man brings 2 fingers to the walls and paints a beating heart, then reaches for his own. The man gets on his knees and prays by screaming, "Let me in, let me in, let me in." He tugs on strands of his hair until his head is covered in patches of skin, tracted by his own hands. See how his father does the same, how his father drags a finger across the wall, stabs the heart with a cross, and in his stress drops gray hair onto the ground. He falls onto his knees and prays too, begging for one thing: stop this beating. The painting stops, the red on the wall dries. For this, they pray. Thank you.
If publish or perish is to be believed, then Aldrin is doing great things because there's a lot of collections coming and I'm so excited for all the amazing things you're gonna do. And again, we're so happy that you could be here. This first poem that Aldrin read made me think of Radiator Springs, which I think heaven is Radiator Springs. And also a question that I want you guys to think about, which you don't have to answer now. In cars, do the cars get car insurance or life insurance? This was a lunchtime question at the place I work, and we were like split half and half. And I won't tell you what I think because I don't want to bias you as an influencer. But you can come and talk to me about it later because I will fight you on this. Okay, next we have Leyra. Leyra is a senior, double majoring in history and East Asian studies. They love to curl up with a good novel. Leyra is also a music minor and she frequently haunts Peabody's AFL looking at fascinating librettos. I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool. It sounds like a type of bread. The best intersection of music and poetry. I guess that's what they are. Also bread. Here's Leyra.
Thank you. Actually, to answer your question, because that's really funny. A libretto is basically the poetry or like the lyrics of an opera. So yeah, I wish they were bread though. That would be really tasty. So I have 2 different poems I'm going to share today. And both of them to me speak to home in different ways. One speaks to my literal home and one speaks to sort of the place where I kind of find like a home, a group of friends in terms of K-pop and the K-pop sphere. But also both of these poets are Latinas, and so that to me as a Dominican also makes me feel like home. But before I read this first poem, which is called Mataros, tags D-Dragon on the 7 by Rosebud Benoni, I'm going to share a small snippet of a Big Bang song called Fantastic Baby, which this little note here in Mataros tags D-Dragon on the 7 says, after Big Bangs, Fantastic Baby. So I'll just share this part because I think it's really important to understand the poem. Okay, so you'll see why that makes sense in a second. So here is Mataros tags D-Dragon on the 7 by Rosebud Benoni. Mataros never comes home. She's hungry like a wolf. She's Rosa de la Mota in LaCroix. All the girls hail on Queens Boulevard, all the views she's killed in the name of Iman and Yasmine Lebon. Mata's quite meta. Mata means kill. Rose a curve from the real meat of it all. She's part My Little Pony, and to Brony she is loved and loved not by Astro Pony. Compatibility chart, she's the queerest part of me. What's left after is the club's closed and is yet to go. Home, she never goes when she writes, I always write. And bed, just woof down, a Three Musketeers. Mata's on a mission, which is to say I'm my most queer, my most mata, Rose, when she. And I don't need all the girls in the yard. Don't need all the girls in the yard, by which I mean the one who's not the one whose blocked texts and torn up wishy wells flicker still. That riddle get you killed. Kind of a woman for whom Mataros almost cut off a foot. Went to the end of Tubac, ghosting rails. My man is a little afraid of Mata. He accepts her though. Lets her come and go because I stay. I am always with him because Mata just wants every 7 train to dissolve into D-Dragon. Sound wants you to howl. Boom, mata, mata. Boom, mata, mata. Wow. G-Mata Dragon Rose, the most pony of them all. G-Mata 7 Dragon Train Rose. Don't wait up. Never last stop, never comes. Boom, mata, mata. Boom, mata, mata. Home. And so the second poem is called Maps by Yasmine who is a Dominican poet. She's actually in the Dominican Heritage Day zine that I created in collaboration with the rest of Bluejays and Poets e-board for our Dominican Heritage zine event earlier this year. And yeah, Maps by Yasmine for Marcelo. Some maps have blue borders, like the blue of your name, or the tributary lacing of veins running through your father's hands. And how the last time I saw you, you held me for so long. I saw whole lifetimes flooding by me, small tentacles reaching for both of our faces. I wish maps would be without borders, and that we belonged to no one and to everyone at once. What a world that would be. Or not a world. Maybe we'd call it something more intrinsic, like forgiving or something simplistic, like river or dirt. And if I were to see you tomorrow and everyone you came from had disappeared, I would weep with you and drown out any black lines that this earth allowed us to give it, because what is a map but a useless prison? We are all so lost, and no naming of blank spaces can save us. And what is a map but the delusion of safety? The line drawn is always in the sand and folds on itself before we're done making it. And that line there, south of El Rio, how it dares to cover up the bodies as though we would forget who died there, and for what? As if we could forget that if you spin a globe and stop it with your finger, you'll land it on top of someone living, someone who is not expecting to be crushed by thirst.
Thank you so much, Leyra. That was so cool. And send me that song link. That sounded banging. Next, we have someone who I met when I was a freshman for like 5 minutes before she left the campus forever, but apparently not, because she's still here. Thank you so much for filming this, by the way. Immense shout out to you. Nikki Uchea. Nikki received her Bachelor of Arts degree for Public Health Studies from Hopkins in 2023. Free, you're free. In February of 2024, she started working for Bloomberg School's Department of Health Policy and Management as a marketing specialist, where she manages the website and social media accounts of the department and its centers. Weight of the world is on her shoulders, guys. Outside of work, Nikki loves to go swing dancing at Mobtown Ballroom, create visual art, such as the pieces she will be selling at Baltimore Artscape next weekend, mark your calendars, and make music with her friends. Please welcome to the stage, Nikki.
Hey guys! So I have about 4 or 5 poems that I'll be reading. Hopefully I don't go over time, but this first one, once it loads, is called Orange Skies, and kind of in that theme of like growth and like renewal and spring. It's like a poem that I wrote in 2017 after a morning walk with my mom, and I just saw like the sunrise and like was just like really sitting with like nature, and I was like, let me write a poem about this. So without further ado, here's Orange Skies. She was drawn outside to the orange skies, a sight only seen by morning eyes. She transcended the barrier between in and out, and better heard were the birds as they chirp about. Who knew what they were saying in the dawn of day? Perhaps they wanted this stranger to go away. Or they too were mesmerized by the colors up above, orange like pumpkins and pink like love. The flowers were yawning as they began to wake. Grass had grown overnight as if to raise their stakes. A squirrel to cover for the day to come. Birds kept singing of the painting that's been done. The breeze was gentle, the leaves slow danced, trilled verses continued to put the girl in a trance. Before she knew it, her orange sky was blown away, making some room for a brand new day. This next poem is called Turning 20. I wrote this 4 years ago, so you can do the math on how old I am now. And yeah, I'll just read it. In 2 days, it'll have been 2 decades of living on a floating rock, and she does not know how to feel about whoever threw the clock out the window, allowing the wind to blow cool air into her room, with flower petals dancing on the breeze, and outside a perfect view of the new spring season and all the reasons to smile, like sunshine hugging your skin or ice cream that doesn't melt for a while, or the beauty of green leaves hyping up their buds, that is, the pink and purple petals that feel very lucky. To see a new day and a new opportunity to grow. Take notes, they tell the girl as they perform their show. But the girl is too distracted by what she still doesn't know. Who the hell has the right to throw a clock out the window? Okay, this next one is called What Are the Odds? And it's basically, I like to think of it as like a love letter to friendship. So, here we go. What are the odds that on the right day, at the right time, you'd be nudged in my direction? Our roots intertwining with zero objection. What are the odds that you'd walk into my life and end up staying for a while? That I'd care about your laugh or that my hugs would make you smile? Who knew the chance of companionship would be 100%? That we'd form a sense of community between days of tomfoolery and bullshit? That we would walk into a room of strangers again and again until one day we'd find ourselves walking out as friends. Genuine friends, flowers, a garden like no other. Watering one another after long days of too much sun, inevitably emptying a pitcher of fun and core memories. Between lines of harmony, between nonsensical sentences, between tears, between laughter, between the nights we regret after, I simply must thank the gods for presenting me with the odds of ending up among people that make my heart glow, that fertilize my soil with stupid jokes and sow seeds of friendship with every vulnerable moment. I like the odds of getting surrounded by the people I love most. I like the odds of me calling this garden my home. Okay, this will be my second to last one. It's called Rhythmic Staples. There's a student group at Hopkins called TDA, Tomp D'Afrique, and it's an African dance group. Yeah, shout out TDA. And a couple years ago, they asked for some variety acts for one of their showcases, so I did a poem. And I will read it now. Thank you. Shout out. I get the tripod all over. I remember when I was 10 attending family events, eager to eat all the food in sight. When my eyes weren't set on the jollof rice, they were set on the performers up front in lines, wearing oranges and greens, all in step, moving their bodies in ways I couldn't even begin to attempt. Later in the evening, it was the adults' time to shine as they sprinkled their casts and shook their behinds. With that memory in mind, I find that dance is more than the movement of our feet. It's more than a hop with a kick to the beat. It's the marriage of culture and the rhythm of a drum, the bond between scuffs and stomps and life's milestones. It's a way to communicate feelings that words fail to capture, a way to preserve the histories of our ancestors. It can be done on stage, in a crowd, or alone in your room, so long as your spirit has the urge to move. Be it shaku shaku, guara guara, Rosalina, Pololo, in each fluid motion is a story retold, reborn in your limbs, at home in your torso, regardless of where you live on the globe. A living piece of the diaspora rests in moments shared on any dance floor that's graced with some African flair, so don't you dare say you have 2 left feet, because regardless of how you move, all that matters is that you be. Be with the music, dance with your people, add your own flavor to our rhythmic staples. All right, this last one is called New Year. I wrote it, I think, during the New Year, January 1st, 2023, so about 2 years ago. And yeah, it's just a song about new beginnings and not waiting for January 1st to start something new. New Year, same pile of clothes on my bed, same head on my shoulders, same dread, same boulders. Sure, the digit is new, but that don't apply to me or you. We are still the same. Just coated with delusion for a day or two, maybe even a month if you're lucky, but trust me, that gym membership is not gonna be with you for long. That's because anything strong enough to last isn't built in a day. Heck, you certainly weren't. It took the 9 months that I'm sure your mom never brought up during a rant about how much she's done for you to pop out the infant that would soon grow up to be the person you see in the mirror. Tell me, do you like who you see in the reflection? Do you like the direction of the head on those shoulders, or does something need to change in order to get a better view? If it's the latter, then grab a ladder and start climbing. Why wait for the first day of a year that you might not live to see when you can pick any old day to put a foot on the bottom rung? Ring, ring. Oh, I'll get it. It's an older you calling to say thanks for taking a step towards that thing. How exciting. How enticing. The idea that any day can be the day that an older you looks back on with pride because you didn't wait for the fireworks outside to add discipline to your life. How nice. It'd be nice of me to start folding the pile of clothes on my bed. Another day there, and I need to start asking it for rent. New year, new month, new week, new hour. Any given moment invites you to place a foot on your ladder. Or at least get it out of the garage. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I really liked the one especially about like walking into the same room with someone again and again, and then suddenly one day you become friends. That sets us up very well for our final featured performer. It's me! This is awesome. I'm gonna read 2 or 3 poems today. One of these I also read last year and I've read a couple of times because it keeps becoming true every year around this time. It's about graduating. I'll do that one in a bit. I'm gonna start with, it's not really, what is poetry, you know? It's a thing that I wrote last summer. Has anyone ever like had a friend for years and years and years, and they've seen you through like different parts of you, and then suddenly you've just like over the years, your life has changed so much that you're not really in touch with them. Then you go home one time and you're like, we still are family, and this friendship is still so important to me, but it's so scary to like start that again. Anyway, this is kind of about that. It's dedicated to my oldest best friend, Akshati, who was actually on video call with me today, completely coincidentally after a while, watching me fold my clothes and telling me about her new job. It's called Adat, which kind of means like a habit. This summer, my childhood welcomed me home, and I decided, perhaps unconsciously, that I didn't want to sleep in the guest bedroom anymore. Even before I split my soul into 2 entangled spaces, call that spooky action at a distance, I have been a snake chasing after my own tail end, always looking away, always moving, always missing. Even in the most lush smattering of fragrant spring days, my mind has wondered about the grass on the other side and whether anyone is keeping it green in my absence. This summer, I let myself sink down into the grass and marvel at things exactly as they were. And as my radius circled tighter, time split open and spilled out before me like a ribbon I could run my fingers across. I drove myself to your house, our tongues stained with bright blue ice cream and the weight of every conversation we could have had over the past 2 or maybe 3 or maybe 4 years. We remastered a shared oral history of friendship and stupidity and our very best intentions. This summer, my knees buckled from how far I had walked to find my way back to your bedroom with the pink curtains and the posters on the wall from everything we had taught each other to love. Time and space collapsed between our hands, and I decided with my whole heart what we had always known. So that's outta. Next, I will be reading Graduation, which always becomes relevant this time. I'm waiting for when people stop graduating and abandoning me, and I stop reading this poem and stop thinking about it. But I performed this last year at CHIRP, and someone very special was here to hear it, and then she left immediately after. And she graduated last year, and the other friend who I talk about in this poem is graduating this year, and she's not here today because she's out doing other fun things, but it's called Graduation. Every morning, the possibility of something new pushes me off the side of the bed. Every day melts into the same liquid pool. Like tributaries, like maple ribbons, we end up around your rickety dining table. A and I take the ends. You take the longer side facing the wall. The surface that isn't permanently covered by stationery and notes and medical textbooks and snacks is a permuting landscape of our laptops and cables and mugs of tea. The last day of class is the first day of nothing. When one of us opens our mouth to say something deep, another stops them. There are enough things that are bigger than us to carry. We focus on those instead. We make our surface area wide, stitched together and slick with tears and different conversations about the same people and Chick-fil-A sauce. It looks like this. One eye on the homework assignment, the other on the live stream. Your parents can never make it home. Mine called to tell me they're considering uprooting their lives for my future like they've done every year for 20 years because my future is contingent on documents and codes. Strange but innocuous strings of letters and numbers like F1 and EB5. What this means is we can't afford to get arrested. So I handcuff myself to your grief. It sounds like this. Learning a song in a different language, my mouth finding familiar sounds and foreign words. It smells like this. You're on the other side of the paper-thin wall making soup. My nose tells me I am in my mom's kitchen. I forgot that dal even had a smell really. I end up eating more than you do. It feels like this. I leave class with you when it's time for you to pray and stand with my feet planted shoulder width apart, staring angrily at every blameless person that walks by as you unfold your mat, face north, and begin. I do this half out of some misplaced protectiveness and half because of the way the air in the room becomes supercharged when you're done with your mundanely sacrosanct correspondence. I don't believe in God. I haven't for a long time, but there is this. We're talking about overpopulation and the one-child policy, and you tell us about a movie with 7 identical sisters that each exist in society one day of the week, pretending to all be one person. Eventually, they form relationships outside the family that put their monolithic identity in jeopardy. When I'm about to go out to do something, you tell me to take the keys. I say, shouldn't you just keep them? What if you guys need to leave and come back? The two of you look up from the dining table and say, where are we going to go? Things are shifting constantly, but nothing ever begins or ends. Sometimes it feels like every change is one for the worse. The National Guard is marching on the East Coast. Our favorite falafel place has been replaced by a subpar sushi joint. It is election year here and at home, and we're spoiled for choice with evils. The dining table is going on Facebook Marketplace and you are leaving. I always suspected I would die for love, and now I might finally get the chance. This is the last one because I don't want to be like a downer and leave you guys with that sad note. This one is called Come Over, and I'm gonna do a little like nerdy rant about this one. So there's this amazing singer, rest in peace, his name is Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. He's a Qawwali singer. He's awesome, everyone should listen to him. And there's this other singer whose name is Jeff Buckley, who chances are some of you might know about him. He's also pretty awesome. Jeff Buckley actually happened to be a very big fan of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, who is from Pakistan, and Jeff Buckley is obviously American. And they actually ended up meeting, and there's really cool pictures of them together, and I read up a little bit about this. And there's this one performance, which you can listen to on YouTube, where Jeff Buckley actually sang one of Nusrat's really famous songs. Now, if you are a connoisseur of music, when you listen to the song, when you guys are looking this up, because you're definitely listening to everything I'm saying right now, select the 23-minute version if you're committed to the bit. If you listen to the 9-minute version, that's fake. So Jeff Buckley sang a version of Nusrat's song, even though he doesn't speak the language, at a live show. And I heard this on YouTube one time, and my mind was like, and so I wrote a poem about it. And this is kind of dedicated to those two men, and a third man, my dad. It's called Come Over. I sit in the front row of the bus. Every day is northbound and southbound and estimated time of arrival. My visa says issue date 10th June 2022, expiration date 8th June 2027. It is 2025 and I'm going to be late to class. My finger moves stochastically across my phone, all northbound and southbound, and screenshot and send. I press play. It is 1993. Jeff's fingers glide over the strings. 1 minute he speaks to us, and the next his mouth makes words, my words, into sound. They start to laugh. He fills up with the music like wind in a sail, like light cutting through clouds. He cannot speak the language, but he understands. He shows us how to clap our hands, and everyone in this room, and everyone who will ever press play, is a buoy on the full tide of the meaning that we have made together. It is a deluge. It is 1:17 p.m., and Baltimore slides around me like warm water, like a tear slipping down my cheek. It does not matter which way the bus or the plane or the deer is going. It does not matter where they send me. I am home. I will be home. I am probably not my ancestors' wildest dreams. I do not need to look back so far. The bus could have stopped in 1973 or 2004 or 2022. It could stop in 2027 or 2025. My existence is as possible as it has always been. I get off the bus at 1:29 p.m., but it is still going north. And everyone on it is still moving, still watching the road through glass windows and screens. Jeff got pulled under the tide in 1997, but somewhere, somewhen, he is still swimming. Hours later, I drag my cursor back to start, and he's still singing. And when I fall asleep, with my computer on my lap, and its glow fades out and it gets as quiet as it can, the music will not go away. It has been everywhere without moving an inch, without crossing a single street or traffic light or border, marking out my footsteps and singing me into wilder dreams. And you can fling me back to where I came from, or break the ground, or change the maps, but I will still have been here, and still I will be. Thank you. And thus concludes our featured performer section. It is time to get excited for our open mic.